Greetings and welcome to Spout, Thomas Nelson's spoken word podcast. We are here to share any and all things spoken, written, fiction, nonfiction, stories, poetry, creative writings, opinions, speeches, whatever it could be. If you would like to participate, you can go to tncc.edu/virtual studio and place a request, or contact anyone involved with podcasting. So today on Spout, we have Robert Harrison with us. And Robert Harrison is a distance learning and eCampus librarian here at Thomas Nelson. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you. Thank you.
And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, a little bit about myself. I just celebrated year 55 on this earth.
Congrats.
I'm very, very blessed with that. I'm actually old enough to order off the senior citizens menu at Denny's now.
You want to get that grand slam.
Yeah, of course. But basically, I am a happily married husband of almost 30 years. It'll be 30 years this April 8th, my wife's birthday also. So if I forget, I get in trouble twice.
Yeah.
I also have 3 grown children, 2 of which are on their own, one of which has a beautiful daughter, my granddaughter, Catherine Elizabeth. And I just love people. I love being at Thomas Nelson, and one of the opportunities that was given to me via a couple of my other colleagues, Tom Roxon and Janice Hoffman, was to rebirth, if you will, poetry and creative writing here at Thomas Nelson. We know there's an annual creative writing contest that goes on.
And I do recall Limerick contest
Yes.
as well, right? Yeah.
Yes. And there actually was a literary journal at one point, which we're also trying to get going to. And for the life of me, I should remember the name of it. But we actually have copies of it over in the library archives. You know, whenever we go back to any resemblance of a normal, God knows when that's going to be. It's something you definitely want to see. But
you know what? I'm sorry. I was involved in that literary journal. I put it, as the graphic designer, one of the graphic designers at the college, I put it together often.
Awesome.
So I know exactly what you're speaking of. We used writings and poetry from the creative writing faculty and students, etc. And we used the student imagery to create the book. It was a fantastic publication, and I agree with you. I'd love to get that up and running again.
Well, we're determined to get it going again. When I came here, was one of the first things I looked for. My wife and I actually met through our poetry, through a creative writing class that we took
That's
together.
such a lovely story.
And you're kind of like a sort of an inspiration for each other's writings, actually. And she wrote a poem, actually, you know, to my husband, who thinks all of my poems are about him. That was one of her favorite poems.
I love the title already.
Yes, I'm home trained. But when I got here and I discovered there wasn't a creative writing group, there wasn't a literary journal, like what college doesn't have a creative, you know, this has got to change.
Yeah, sadly, you know, I don't know exactly what caused it, but we've had newspapers here. We did have the literary publication, a number of different things. You know, I think sometimes it comes down to budget and whatnot. But I think we, you know, as an institution of education, have to make some priorities.
Yes.
And you know, make some of those creative outlets for our students a priority.
Absolutely.
And I think we have done that, and we definitely need to get back on track with that. For example, you know, we do have the art gallery over, you know, on top of the Mary T. Christian Auditorium and things like that. But I agree with you. I'd love to get the publications going again. So hopefully, maybe with this podcast, we can grow an audience. Maybe, you know, we can get our creatives, you know, in here speaking their words and their poetry, and you know, increase or create some interest and get something going.
Okay.
So today you're here. You're going to share some of your writings with us. What type of writings are you going to share with us today?
Just some general poetic kinds of things. I use my own type of meter, if you will.
Okay.
My own. I'll pick kind of off the cuff kinds of things. I'll pick a meter, you know, however many syllables per line I want, and then I'll go with that for each line. But I've recently, through my love of Germanic and Scandinavian culture and history and religion, I've recently discovered a love for skaldic poetry.
Okay.
And the use of things they call kennings is oh gosh.
Is that a lot of like symbolism?
Lots of symbolism.
Mythology, that type of thing in there?
Gosh, and my wife is going to kill me. I forget the word for it, but the word when you have 2 or 3 words together that all start off with the same consonant.
Oh, alliteration.
Thank you. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, we're here to help each other, right?
Yeah, don't tell my wife.
Oh, well.
She's an English
Don't
major,
let her
so.
listen.
But just a few things that I've written. The first one, I can read one now if you want me to.
Oh, sure. Let's get right into it. I think it's very interesting. So you're saying that you like to choose a certain rhythm or meter, and I imagine you do that and you emphasize certain words or phrases that you want to really drive home.
Absolutely. When I first my love of poetry came about through high school English class. And
now that's original.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure other people, have, felt that, but that's, for a young man to become interested in poetry during English poetry class in high school, that's fantastic. It must really touched you.
Well, it very much so did. Me, a high school football hero, a jock on top of all of it.
Right.
It
was your sensitive side.
Very much so. Between the poetry in English class, and of course back then, I'm going to show my age, we did a lot of readings and studyings with Bullfinch's mythology, if you remember that one. A lot of things that's where my love, between that and my history classes, was just this, open up a whole world, a whole other universe.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing. That's what education is supposed to do for us. And
absolutely.
I'm so glad it did that for you. That's a challenge today to get our, younger students or students in general, excited about it, right?
Well, I'm being a devout proponent of freedom of speech, and I know that's a real hot topic these days.
I'm all for it.
For me, poetry represents just that for students. And about 3-4, it was actually longer than that. Back in 2015 or 2016, when Tom and Janice and I got together and we started the first of the poetry coffee houses, it was a really awesome night. We even had folks from the Poetry Society of Virginia show up. And all of us shared, and it was jam-packed house. It was in room 100 in the library up at the HT campus.
Okay, familiar,
and very, very packed. Even my boss at the time, Richard Hodges, he came by. And it's just the energy in the room and students realizing that they had a voice, that if they had something on their mind, they could say it and not have to hold back, or no censorship. I'm old school and intellectual freedom. So
right.
It was just let it out, share it.
Absolutely. That's a beautiful, wonderful thing. That's something I think we should all embrace, and no matter our opinions,
right.
Everyone
Absolutely.
should be able to, vent, voice, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't mean it's going to change your life or their life,
right?
But it's their thoughts, and I'm for that and against repression and regression.
Right, absolutely. Absolutely.
So what's the name of the title of the poem you're going to do for us here?
The first one I'm going to do is one that's called Mom, I Love You. I'm about a little over a year ago, my mother passed away. But years before that, back in high school, when she and my father asked me what I wanted to do with my life, I said, Mom, I wanted to be a United States Marine. I wanted to be one so bad. It was just my dream.
Were you by chance? Did you grow up in the area?
No, actually, I grew up just outside of Philadelphia, near Valley Forge, of all places.
Only reason I ask is I went to Phoebus High, and I was a Marine ROTC in high school, and I swore I was going to go to the Marines, and that's why I asked that question. Now, you know what? I ended up going into the Army. They offered me a better deal.
Okay, but keep this K-Sun's rolling.
I hear you. All right, but I hear you about the Marines. So you wanted to be a Marine?
Really bad. My school bus driver was a Marine. He got me to and from school safe every day. His little brother and I went to school together. I know it sounds kind of silly and mushy, but it's the small things you do in children's lives that make the most impact. Now, my father my father was in the Army. And he saw combat in Korea. So he had that whole inter-service rivalry thing going on there.
Sure.
And he didn't appreciate the Marines coming out of my mouth.
Right.
My mother, being the woman she was, she decided that I was going to be captured by Muammar Gaddafi. I'm showing my age now. That Gaddafi was going to capture me and have me upside down on a bamboo pole, naked, being beaten to death. And I'm like, Mom, can I get through the 11th grade before you kill me off? Yeah. That still didn't go over well.
Right.
But I wrote this poem that I was going to give to her on the day. I said, Mom, I've signed myself up and I'm going in.
So you did go. You were the Marine.
I wanted to go,
okay.
And then senior of high school came in, and homecoming game of high school, my senior year, I injured my knee really horrible bad, so I had to put things on hold. But
I'm sorry to hear that. That doesn't affect your poem at all. I just making conversation.
But it goes like this. My mother dear, please don't cry. No, it seems your heart will die. It is what I've longed to do. My God, Mom, I do love you. Yes, Mom, a Marine I'll be. Paris Island, that's for me. I know your heart wants to crack. Do not worry, I'll be back. Baby picture on your breast. I know it's hard. You must rest. Into your soul rest will act. Please don't worry, I'll be back.
Wow. Please don't worry, Mom, I'll be back.
Yes.
So let me get my chronological frame of mind straight here. So you wrote that for your mom, you said, about how long ago?
It was, oh goodness. Wow.
Was it back in
It was about, I'm 55 now. You're asking me to do math.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, this is literature, not math, right?
35 to 40 years ago.
Okay, right. It didn't have to be exact. So it was some year later. Now, and you said your mom passed, but you were able to share this with her.
Right. Yes.
You were too, okay.
She pretty much said, I don't care, you're still my son.
Sure.
Absolutely. You're intelligent. There's other things afforded to you. You need to go to college. Okay. And I even tried to make the deal. Okay, well, what if I went to the Naval Academy?
Yeah.
And my father didn't like officers, so that
well, you're getting it on both sides, over here and over here, right?
But with him, he said, "Look, I've seen combat. This is not a John Wayne movie. This is for real.
Right.
I've seen men die. This is not a joke."
Yeah, and as we now know, being more open about, our service members, we know that many of them come back much more psychologically damaged, or I don't want to say damaged because they're not broken people, but they certainly have gone through, some things that have affected them a lot. We're so much aware of it now than we were after Korea or World War II, etc. Right. It's a hard thing.
Very much so.
PTSD. But so. What was your mom's reaction, or did she have any reaction? She's beautiful. She loved it.
I realize, I love her, but you're my son first and foremost, and I birthed you. I want to know you're safe.
Sure.
You graduated high school. National Honor Society, got all these things. Why? It's just.
Well, you know what? Maybe that football injury happened for a reason. Did that hold you up? Were you ever able to go into service, or did you make a detour?
I made a detour. I said, you know what the heck? I did want to play a little college football, so I tried that a little while, and then sophomore year of football, guess what happened? Same exact thing to the same knee.
Was it like your ACL? It doesn't matter. Is an injury.
Yeah, I have no cartilage at all on my left knee.
I'm so sorry to hear that, because guess what? Now you are going to have to choose a career or something to do in your life that is not as physical, regardless, right? Now, how did you feel about that?
I thought at first I was really down and depressed.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, more even suicidal at that point. And then I remembered one of my old football heroes, Rocky Blyer, who was in the Army, served in Vietnam, almost got his leg blown off in a grenade attack, and came back and won 4 Super Bowl rings. So I thought, if he could do it, so can I. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go. This is my time. Mom and Dad aren't around to mess with me mentally. I'm going to go ahead and do it. I went to see the Marine recruiter. They gave me the ASVAB, which is the easiest test in the world you can take.
Yeah, I'm aware. Probably most people need. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an entrance. It's an entrance exam for the military. Is
Pretty
what it
much.
is. Yeah.
Now, I'm not the guy you want fixing your trucks in motor pool, because we'll be stranded in the desert forever. But the verbal and the math and leading men in combat, I'm right there with you. And I pretty much blew it. I just didn't ace it, but pretty high up there.
Right.
Then
that leading you to, you had the choice of the job you wanted to do.
Had the choice.
Right.
He said, the recruiter, who's a gunnery sergeant, gosh, I wish I could remember his name. He says, "What do you want to do for the Marine Corps?" I said, "Marine Corps Special Forces, recon." Mm-hmm. I wanted to go right into the thick of it, and you never saw a man's eyes lit up like a kid on Christmas Day. And they took me in. They talked to me a little bit. They gave me the little red booklet that gives you all the Marine Corps general orders. I even remember some of them. 5th General Orders to pass on to the century relieves me all orders given by the commanding officer, officer of the day, and all officers, non-commissioned officers of the guard only serve. Then they put me on the scale. And this was right when the military was starting to downsize. This is pre-Clinton.
Gotcha.
It says, "Sorry, we can't take you." And I said, "What if I sign a release that says if I die in boot camp, it's not your fault?" I said, "Sorry, I can't take you."
Yeah, so you're a football player, and what I mean, so you're a big muscular dude.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that big in a negative way.
Right.
I just mean that you probably are on what they, not the fringe, but either you meet weight regulations or you don't, and you have to get a waiver or not, right?
Right.
Okay.
They said you don't make the weight, we can't take you. It said, I mean, my father, who was alive at the time, he says, it's interesting because when he was in Korea, he says, as soon as you signed up, bam, they took you. That was just
right.
They took you.
And in peacetime, wartime, needing warm bodies to go to combat or not, I imagine that's something to do with it. Kind of feels kind of bad because it's kind of like you want me when want me when you need me, but you don't want me willingly.
Right. Well, it was just one of those things I always wanted to do. My father served. All of my uncles, all of his brothers served. All of my mother's brother, Uncle Willie, he served in every war from WW2 all the way through Nam. They all served. And I thought, I want to get into the family business.
I hear you.
This is just.
So when you moved over to, being more of a scholar and intellect, your mom felt pretty good about that, I imagine.
Oh, she was tickled to death.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, he's safe."
Fantastic. So did you have another poem you wanted to share with us today?
I did. This one I wrote kind of about myself. It gives a little bit of an idea about my personality. And I wrote it right after I started discovering things like alliteration and skaldic poetry and things like that. And
so while you went through school, would you say that you're more of a self-taught poet? I mean,
not really self-taught well, no, not really at all. I had the right teachers and the right people in the right place at the right time, inspiring me with different sorts of things.
Gotcha.
And when I came across, started getting to things like my family history, I'm kind of like a Heinz 157 when it comes to ethnicities. We all are, I guess. And growing up just outside of Philadelphia near Valley Forge and having Pennsylvania Deutsch ancestry.
Oh, yeah.
There was a very strong Germanic influence in everything we did. The food we ate. Mm-hmm. There was kind of the annual summer pilgrimage over to Lancaster County. They call it Dutch country, where we'd go and we'd visit the farms and eat oh my gosh, there's nothing like farm food. Oh my God.
It's yummy. My husband's from Ohio, and a lot of Amish there. I know it's a completely different, set of people, and I'm aware of that, but the farm food and the et cetera, very much, I'm on cheese and breakfast casserole and pumpkin pie, whatever it would be. The milk, I get you. It's
homemade
yummy.
ice cream.
Absolutely,
like
yummy.
But this one I wrote. It's called Rebel Robert Rouses, my first alliteration, and it's just
say that again.
Rebel Robert Rouses.
Okay, I like it.
And it goes, okay. Rebel Robert rouses, his soul's tumultuous spirit, flooded by Mead's river, bringing him to his stead. Molded from fire and ice, hammered by Mjolnir, his temple strengthened by pain, by will's stamina. The engulfing misty darkness, fueled by self-pity and doubt, and the winds of quitter's breath rages in his soul. Yet the fires of righteous hate and will, fueled by unbending focus, perseverance, brings his fight to the moment of truth. Hammer down to his very core as red river flows through his pores. Formed by salty waves, his tidal prowess, his prowess builds to volcanic bliss. Mjolnir hammers his temple relentlessly and mercilessly as he begged and begged for the strength of Thor. Hammer down, as his temple is molded, as the Asgardian gavel works his wondrous magic. This is when I was just starting to get into the gym and working out.
Yeah, that's fantastic. As soon as I heard about the foe and fight, the hammer down, except the first thing that popped in my head, and you verified it for me towards the end of the poem, I was thinking of Valkyries. I was thinking of Thor. I was thinking of Norwegian culture or mythology.
Right.
That's what came
Very
to my
much.
mind. And so is that where it was? I mean, did you
Very
read
much
something
so.
Did you read or see something that inspired that? Or?
Very much read. I read a lot about the culture and the history because it's part of my history between the Germans on my father's side and the Danes on my mother's side. Like I said, we're a Heinz 157.
We might be related. I did my DNA a couple years ago, and I'm like 34% Scandinavian, a little bit of English, and some other stuff mixed in. But I'm with you.
Oh, okay.
I'm with you 100%.
Okay.
So.
Well, I got a little English in there too,
Yeah.
all the way back through the Scarboroughs and even everyone's favorite English monarch, Henry VIII. He's in there too. Sometimes I think.
Henry.
Oh goodness! Don't get me started. I drive my wife crazy with that one. But I actually recently I got a new toy. I actually got a Dane axe. A friend of mine makes them, so I have a Dane axe. So I know I can't bring it to campus.
I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, but we both need our jobs.
I know, I right.
But there's several other poems like that I've written that.
So what do you think about the particular culture? It inspired you so much. Was it the wildness or the mythology?
It was the strength of the tribes, the different tribes. Families first. Yeah, I know the whole agricultural warrior kinds of things.
Right. There is still a little bit of myth that goes along with the Vikings.
Yeah.
They were certainly warring and marauding and capturing and stealing, but they were also very much agriculturalists and as they came down the coast, at least the way I understand it, was they came down, through Scotland and then into Ireland and into Britain. They were all just really trying to find, peaceful lands that, grow food, have agriculture, their family, not quite so frozen.
Right. Well, see, that's just it. A lot of people, when they hear Viking, and Viking is actually really wasn't an ethnicity; it was more of a job title.
Right.
We're going to go a Viking, that kind of thing. And when you look at them and actually look at their predecessors, the Proto-Germanic people and all of those other ethnicities, and how their lives and beliefs changed as they moved across Europe, and some other interesting things folks don't understand about them is not only did they make it over to Iceland and even to Greenland and actually made an agricultural living in those frozen tundras, there's actually evidence to suggest they not only made it to America, but made it as far as the Mississippi.
I wasn't aware of the Mississippi. I knew that there was, I can't remember, was it a coin or stone or something was found that they said, geologically, this had to come from here. There's nowhere else it could be. And I think it was Eric.
Eric the Red.
The Red, right. Something like that. Now, I'm not a historian when it comes to them, but I know I find the Vikings fascinating too. And I think maybe they almost had a wanderlust, and I have a wanderlust. I've always had a wanderlust.
Love to travel.
Love to travel, exactly.
See new things.
Right. And standing still doesn't feel as good to me as moving, and that's different for everybody. But I think that's why I was so fascinated and quite excited when I heard that I had Viking in my history, because then I could attest it to it's in my blood, man.
Oh, absolutely.
That's where this wanderlust comes from. All right, that's fantastic. Did you have any other poetry you wanted to share today?
Actually, one more I'd like to share.
Okay, sounds great.
Like I said earlier, my mother passed away slightly over a year ago, And she was my rock all through growing up. I mean, there were times where I wanted to quit college and to quit this and the other thing. There were times I got very suicidal because I never thought in a million years that I would ever find that special someone, settle down, get married, have kids, those kinds of things. And she always stood there with me. In fact, in high school, my senior year, when I hurt that knee that year and all of my dreams were dashed, it seemed like they were dashed. She cried more than I did when the surgeon said, "You'll never play football again."
As a parent, as a mother, she knew your potential and she knew how much that meant to you, and that's why that's. Like, I can't speak for your mother, but I'm speaking from another mother over here.
Right.
That must have been really. I mean, it was hard on you. You had to live it, but
right.
She's like, my son, his dreams. Now
right.
He's got to change up. But you know what? You did change up, and you did find someone,
right.
And now you're doing a podcast, sharing your lovely poetry with the world about your mother. Fantastic.
Yeah, very much so. She was more than my rock. She was my mentor. She went through something no parent ever wants to go through. She had to bury one of her children. Oh. My oldest sister died about 2 months shy of her 49th birthday. And I still kind of, every once in a while, I feel that survivor's guilt.
Sure.
Why am I alive? Why was I spared and she wasn't that guy, But when Mom passed, and that effectively made me family patriarch, because I was the oldest surviving kid. And there was my baby sister who fell apart when she passed. My oldest sister's kids that were there when she passed. Now, I was blessed in that when my mom had her massive stroke, she didn't die right away because she's a tough old bird. They put her in a, oh goodness, oh gosh, what's it called? Hospice.
Okay.
And I pretty much knew the end was near. As soon as they put you there, you don't come out of those.
Right.
My mother's last words, and this will give you a chuckle. Her last words literally were, "Take care of my grandchildren and don't let my baby sister Joni and me, Bobby, do anything stupid." Those were literally her last words. She made sure we knew who Mama was and where the bear.
I gave you the lessons. Now it's up to you to see to them. Right. That's fantastic.
And I had decided at the time that I was going to save my mourning for later. I was the family patriarch. Let everybody have their time to mourn, and I'll leave. When I go home, then I'll have my turn to fall apart. But I needed to make sure the family was, because that's the way Mom would have wanted it. But I wrote this poem about her not too long after I got home, and it's called "The Cane in the Corner." Okay, the cane in the corner. Horsey rides in the living room. For me, potty training too. Church, respect your elders too. Unwavering faith in God. Strong Southern raising you used, determined to keep us strong, survived abuse, physical, mental, horrors too many to name. With clip in her brain case, bubble held back with a clip, she birthed 4 children and lived. She came that far by faith. Academics, athletics, whatever we decided to pursue, persevere and see it through. Quitting I'll not tolerate, ever. One day I'll be gone for sure. At times you'll have arguments, but this one thing must stay true. You are family, forever. Right now your hearts are weary. My passing brings challenges. Faith, family, folk maintained. Forever, forever now. Love and discipline I am, whether in life or in death. My rules will always apply. Mama Clara's still the boss. Nothing will ever change. Mama Clara's still the boss. Act right, good men and women, for I am still watching you. Signed, Mama Clara, Queen of the Cane in the Corner.
Wow. Sounds like your mother was a very strong woman.
Very much
And
so.
that was a lovely tribute to her. And I imagine every time that you go to do something, you think about your mom, don't you?
Yes, I do. I don't know if you believe in spirits or things, but I truly do, because every time I go to do something that's of questionable integrity, I get that tap on the shoulder. I feel a tap on the shoulder, or I somehow I can see that eyebrow, Mom's eyebrow, she would raise and give me that infamous mother's look. And I know she's still there. I looking back on my pictures she used to take me over the years, and looking back on pictures of her, and we're almost like twins.
I can attest to her being here, and it's right there in the words you wrote and the words we just shared, on this podcast. I mean, there you go, talk about being mushy, but it's true, and I'm with you 100%. I think it's a great tribute and beautiful poem, and tells a story.
Yeah, it's still a little bit difficult for me. I mean, it's
still fresh. Yeah, it's fresh.
My father, when he passed on my 23rd birthday. Happy birthday!
Wow.
So that every year is a little bit bittersweet to me. But having been given those strong, family
lessons,
those strong lessons and things, and knowing that she's always there and word and spirit, that has really kept me going, and every once in a while I find myself calling out for my mommy. 55-year-old man in the middle of a restaurant, something triggers a memory, and I'm like, I want my mommy.
I don't think that I think you're only saying out loud something that happens to most people. But I applaud you for being able to say it out loud.
Yeah.
And I think poetry and writing and expressing yourself and those feelings and those relationships you have, like with your mother or whatever, it is a way to immortalize them. And I hope and challenge everyone out here in the world, use poetry, use writing, use music,
Absolutely.
Use your voice, draw, paint, do whatever. You can tell I'm a big proponent of the arts right over here.
Absolutely.
Just for expression, just to keep your sanity, just for meditation, whatever you want. So, so I guess in closing, I'd just like to say thank you.
Oh, thank you for
sharing. I feel like we could sit here probably and talk for another couple hours.
Oh, easily.
And we can get into some. It is fun. It is fun, isn't it? I think that we could definitely continue this conversation about poetry, and what I hope is maybe we can get some students and some more folks in, and maybe get little jams going on and inspiration.
Absolutely.
I want to thank you again. That's Mr. Robert Harrison for joining us on Spout, our spoken word podcast. I'm Michelle Schonk, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.